Well, basically, we already did the interview before we even started.
That's
but
right.
but happy to be joined here by Sheriff Chad Bianco. Sheriff, I know that you were a big figure as far as the Prop 36 movement was going last year. That's perhaps where a lot of people recognize you. Why you want to run for governor of California?
Yeah, that's a great question. And Prop 36 did have a lot to do with it. So since 2014, we know that Prop 47 was the downfall of California as far as public safety is concerned. That's 2012 with AB 109 is what started it, the prison realignment bill. But that's what that's what all inmates were either released from custody or sent to county jails. And then we were all overcrowded. We had to release people. Misdemeanors and minor felonies were not going to jail because we had hardened criminals in our county jail system. And then Prop 47 passed. We were lied to about that, and that truly was the downfall of most everything: the theft, the homelessness, the drug use, the drug addiction, the mental illness. All of those things all go together with Prop 47. So with Prop 36, it was super important that we were able to make those changes in Prop 47 so we could make those things happen. And as me being sheriff, I was elected sheriff of Riverside County in 2018. And so from that time, I've been in Sacramento trying to deal with all of these issues and all of these things that are going wrong with public safety, that are preventing sheriffs like me or some police chiefs from being able to represent and keep their community safe and do what their residents want as far as public safety is concerned. And so that fight in Sacramento has been ongoing for years. Prop 36 was a fantastic job by our DAs throughout the state that came up with the construction of this bill to get it, not a bill, but of the proposition to get it on the ballot so we could all vote for it. And it was a resounding, nearly 3/4 of the state. That's in the election world. That's not even a landslide. That is an absolute complete referendum on a horrible agenda, direction that you're going, and the entire state is saying we're done and we need to change directions and we need to fix these things. So it was a big thing for me to be a part of it. I was very glad that being an outspoken sheriff for the last 6 years. They asked me if I would be that voice, if I would be that face of the law enforcement aspect of Prop 36, and I was very grateful for that, and I was very happy to do it because it was something that the state needed to hear, and luckily they listened.
And I know not only 3/4 of the state, or nearly 3/4 of the state, but all 58 counties as well. What message does that send as far as someone who is a Republican, which is a tough hill to climb to become governor of California? Imagine when you are in support and one of the ones that are leading the charge on a measure like that maybe helps your profile.
Yeah, it absolutely does. And the truth and the fact about law enforcement is, regardless of what activists want people to believe, the 90%, 95% of residents appreciate and value and like law enforcement. And this is a noble profession, and for someone like me to get into the 32 years now doing this, my entire career is based on honesty, integrity, and character. So in a world where we are starving for a government leader to be honest with us and to actually care about us instead of special interests, the law enforcement world, me being in a law enforcement position, especially Riverside County, we're the second largest in the state sheriff's office and the fourth in the country. We're an enormous organization. And to have someone like me that's been doing this for 32 years that the public can trust, that you can believe, and I do have a resume that says I'm going to publicly serve you, and I've been doing it honorably for 32 years. I think that is going to resonate well, and that's what we're feeling is people are starving for that leader and that person of character, and the law enforcement world, the majority of people believe that the law enforcement community, especially our law enforcement leaders, are truly there to make everything better and to help us. And I've got 32 years of nothing but problem-solving ability. That's what cops do, is we go out and we solve everyone else's problems within minutes just so we can move on to the next problem. And so that ability to identify a problem and then solve it, not have a committee and not set up meetings and not talk about it forever, it's just fix it. Find the problem and fix it so we can all move on. That ability that I have and that I represent is resonating well throughout California.
Well, and it's resonated well with Kern County Sheriff Donny Youngblood, who when people are looking at endorsements and when people are looking at for who should I vote for in a race when there's so many different candidates, what does the endorsement of Kern County Sheriff Donny Youngblood mean for you and your campaign?
So not to take anything away from all of my other fellow sheriffs, Donny's was the most important to me. When I became a sheriff, Donny he's been a sheriff here for a long time, and he's been a fantastic sheriff for Kern County. And he's been a mentor to me. And from my first day in my first meeting with all of the sheriffs, I don't want to say he took me under his wing, because that really wasn't what it was about. It was a mutual respect thing, but I looked up to him and I asked him advice, and I reached out to him, and that made him want to help me more. And you know, the biggest compliment that he ever told me was that I just remind him of him. And so that truly is what I wanted to model myself after, because I knew the residents of Kern County absolutely love their sheriff, and he is truly doing it for the residents of Kern County, and I make sure that I always keep that in mind. So his endorsement for me means everything to me, and he was one of the first sheriffs that I asked, what do you think of me doing this? And he got excited, he smiled and said, yes, you have to do it. So it was huge for me.
And that's a big endorsement. I know that you have several endorsements as well, but at the same time, you need that policy. What is the biggest policy issue that motivated you to run and get those endorsements as well?
Obviously, it's public safety. So no matter what poll you look at, 60 to 70%, depending on polling and everything else, between 60 and 70% of the people believe that public safety is our number one issue, and public safety touches everything else. Is it public safety in our schools? And then you have to deal with schools issues that have their own entity or their own issues that are going on within that entity. Then you have law enforcement with our businesses, and then with crime and all of that stuff. But then the businesses have their own issues that are going on with government that we have to deal with. Public safety, we have our issues, but then we're fighting against Sacramento to make our issues better. The farming community, we are engaged with our farming community, trying to make their life better because of theft and problems that they have with people stealing produce or equipment or anything like that. But then we learn, then I learn about all the issues that they have with regulations going forward. So the law enforcement, the way it touches every single aspect of our lives is enormous. Is it safe to let your kids go to the park? Is it safe for you to go to the store, to the grocery store, to a clothing store, jewelry stores? All of those things deal with law enforcement. So public safety has to be number one. And then you look at, I'm a very fiscally conservative person. And so my view of our government is what our founding fathers viewed it as. And our number one priority is public safety. Public safety entails is law enforcement and fire service to keep us safe. So public safety, whether it's ambulance drivers or fire department, the other first responders that goes along with law enforcement, that's number one. That's number one role of government. Then you have infrastructure. Infrastructure follows after that, whether it's water issues, whether it's electricity issues, gasoline issues, all of those things that make our infrastructure work. Our roads are horrible in California. And all of those things are bad, but the public safety is number one. So we handle our public safety, which is my wheelhouse. I don't have to ask anyone. I don't have to hire all of these people for their expert opinions. I am the expert as far as public safety is concerned. So that's an easy issue for me, but then rolling into the other issues that we have, they've all touched public safety. So I have that intimate knowledge of the issues that everyone is concerning, the problems that really are emanating from Sacramento and our government.
I know Prop 36 touches a lot of those issues. That was the kind of the common sense approach. It was the public safety expertise. Unfortunately, in January, we saw what happened with the wildfires in Los Angeles and the response from government, and one that's been heavily criticized. What did that show you as part of this run for governor, and how did that maybe inform any policy or any way that you would run the state as it goes to fire safety and water storage?
Yeah, that's a great question, because for years I've been saying that the entire state, the voters of the state are very empathetic. We don't pay attention to who we're voting for. We don't pay attention to our government, because one of the most common things you hear with people are, who are you voting for, and all this. It's like, oh, I don't concern myself with that. That doesn't concern me. I don't care who the governor is. I don't care who the president is. I don't care who we elect, because that doesn't concern me. It doesn't hurt my business. It doesn't hurt my family. I'm taking care of myself. And so over the years, it's just got worse and worse and worse and worse. And now we're seeing the result of years and years, decades of empathetic voters. And so as we're moving in now, it's people are standing up and saying, man, what is happening here? When did this happen? Why is this happening? And we're finally starting to wisen up and say, we know why it's happening. It's an agenda that's causing these things to happen, and that's what happened with the fires. The fires were a result. It wasn't a fire. We have fire season in California. We know there are fires all the time. We have wind season in Southern California. It's there all the time. What's happened in the last decade, and really probably 2 decades, 3 decades, is every year the fires get worse. The fires get worse because of the regulations that prevent the fire department from cleaning out brush, from cleaning out deadfall, from eliminating some of the fuel that makes these fires worse every single year. Then you have an infrastructure problem with public safety problem of Los Angeles eliminating fire positions, eliminating the budget, cutting the budget from police and fire. They've done it for years. That's not important to them. They want social programs. They're wasting a lot of other money except on their priority, which is public safety and infrastructure. And so we all found out that not only did they not have enough firemen, they didn't have fire trucks that were available because they're in a state of disrepair because there's no money to fix them. And then there was also no water that was due to government regulation and government not being able to get those reservoirs full, whether it be because red tape, a bunch of, a bureaucrat that just didn't make the right decision, or if the combination of the state having horrible water policies. And everyone is realizing, unfortunately, 16,000 families lost their homes. Unfortunately, it was an entire city that just got wiped out. And now we're all standing up and saying, and those are not Democrats and not Republicans, they're Californians. And they're all standing up saying, what are we doing? How did we get here? And so that is where January, I think, was the real turning point in California, where people are standing up and saying, these policies have been harming us for decades, and now they've hit a threshold where we're just no longer good with, and this direction has to be reversed. We have to have water. We have more water than any state in the country. We just force it all out to the ocean and it goes away. And then we somehow ignore that we have an ocean on our entire coast. The entire side of California is water. We just don't want to dedicate the resources to desalinate it and make it drinking water or make it irrigation water or whatever the case may be. And we don't want to make reservoirs for our farmers here in this community. It's crazy. Over the years we've said we need to do it. We need to put money aside to do it. We pass bond measures to do it. But the agenda of Sacramento government is to not.
So then how do you work with Sacramento? Because I know that, when you were going around for Prop 36, it seemed like just about every Democrat mayor, for the most part, there's a few exceptions, was in support of your measure and was saying, we see this on our streets, we want to do something about it, we're in support. Maybe they weren't as vocal as some of your Republican counterparts. But then as far as the state legislature, you didn't have quite as many Democrats that were supportive of that, because it seems like, as many would argue, that there has been a disconnect between Sacramento and some of the people and some of the policy that they're creating.
Yeah.
How would you go about working with those people, even if it's not a Democrat supermajority, it will still likely be Democrats in office?
Yeah, and that's a great question, because I don't care if it's a Democrat supermajority. I honestly don't. That's not going to affect me and my decisions and my agenda and me making California better and me representing Californians. It's going to affect them, because right now Sacramento is run off the governor's agenda. That's how it works. And one of the things about a law enforcement officer coming into this race and being able to talk like this is, I'm nothing but honest. I can be nothing but honest. My current job as sheriff depends on my honesty. And that's what's missing from government. We are not honest about anything. We're not honest about how they make decisions. We're not honest about who's responsible. The legislature only runs and goes down a path that's set by the governor. It's the governor's agenda, what the governor wants to have happen, and then the legislature makes sure that works. And the proof is what's happening now. We know that if the governor wanted to change something, he could come in and change it immediately. We had 2 recent bills that were just disastrous for California. It was the self-defense bill, and then this last one. Now, as I'm talking to it, I can't remember what the last one was.
Oh, is it the felony one regarding the 16, 17-year-olds?
Yes. So you have the bill that's going to take away our self-defense, and then you have a bill making it a felony to sex traffic 16 and 17-year-olds. And the entire population of California thinks that's a great idea. And the legislature says, no, it's not. And then so the uprising, we were able to get the people to hear what they were doing. We were able to show them what they were doing. And then the governor had to come in and say, hey, bring those back. Bring that bill, those bills are gone. And he came in and said, bring them back and get them passed. And so that's what's happening now. The governor controls everything. He's just on a mission now to make himself more Republican because he's trying to run for president, and there is no way the rest of the country is going to vote for him knowing that California is in shambles, and his agenda is what caused it. So we're not even being honest with Californians now, because Newsom is even just blaming the legislature because he doesn't want to take responsibility for his agenda. So me going in with a California agenda, not a Democrat agenda, not a Republican agenda, not an independent agenda. My agenda is for the quality of life issues that are affecting every single Californian where they live, not pockets. I'm not going to represent San Francisco Bay. I'm not going to represent downtown Los Angeles. I have to represent equally a person that lives in downtown Los Angeles and a person that lives in Shasta County that has no neighbors for miles. They're equal in the eyes, they should be equal in the eyes of the governor. Their needs and their wants should be equal, and that's what I'm bringing to this. Special interests are going to be gone, and we have to actually start taking care of California and what is best for Californians. That agenda that I set in Sacramento, that will be the agenda that the legislature has to follow, whether they're Democrat or Republican. And the reality is, all of the bills, they love passing their bills. There's 2,000 bills in there that they want passed. I'm not going to sign one of them if they're not going to follow my agenda. We'll get some of their bills passed. I'll agree to sign some of their bills, but they're going to make sure that our agenda to make Californians have a better life here, they're going to have to switch to make those things right. They're going to have to change their pro-criminal stance. They're going to have to start standing for public safety and accountability. They're going to have to start standing for farmers and for ranchers and for energy and for gasoline, because we absolutely need those. We cannot survive without them. I'm a big fan of ingenuity and technology making things better in the form of electric cars. I believe that sometime in the future we'll either be driving nuclear cars or hydrogen cars, or maybe it will be electric cars. Now is not the time. We don't have the technology to do it now. We can't even keep our electricity in our houses on, and they want all electric vehicles. So we have to use what we have now, which is the fossil fuel. The oil that we have here in Kern County is more than anywhere in the country, and we're not using it for what? For environmentalists? For a tiny little world of special interest environmentalists that are just loud, obnoxious, and don't have people's best interests in heart. We have to start putting people, Californians, farmers, ranchers, consumers, humans ahead of weeds and flies and fish. I mean, we can all work these things together as we make us better. So while we're waiting on that technology of nuclear power plants and nuclear cars or electric cars, we have to utilize the fossil fuel that we have and make sure that we can all live comfortably until we get to that point. And that's the mentality that I'm bringing in there.
Well, you preempted my gas question. I don't even have to ask you about gas. You've already solved the question for me for as far as oil is concerned. I do want to ask you, though, a little bit, too, on that same topic, which is that California is running over a budget, or over budget right now. There's budget discussions at this moment. What gets cut first for you that you think, right now, we're doing this, right now, this is unneeded?
Yeah. Wow, I don't even know what I can say cut first, because we've gone in the last decade, we've doubled the size of our budget. They've taken more money from us to double the size of what they spent. And you and I can sit here and say, let's go back and see what services have doubled for us. What have we doubled to get out of our government? Our government is no longer working for us. So all of those things, especially since the pandemic is, I mean, the size of government that has increased since 2020, when they made it, I mean, Governor Newsom came out and said, we will not let, he said this on TV, we will not let an emergency go to waste. We are going to push the progressive agenda. The progressive agenda is big government. Big government rules the day. Big government controls everybody, how much everybody makes, where you spend money. It's just a different version of socialism, and we have to be honest about that. And we have to make sure that all of those big government issues are cut. It's Californians that make California great. It's our workers that make us great. It's our business owners that make us great. Government does absolutely nothing for us. They don't make money. They don't make entities. They don't produce anything. It's all of us that do that. And when government is getting in the way and regulating it, taxing it to death so all of our businesses leave, regulate infrastructure to death, regulate the fuel industry, regulate our farming, regulate our water so our farmers can't produce more, regulate all of those things, we all leave. Those people are who's leaving the state, and they're going to states that actually care about increasing the ability of their state to manage itself for their residents. And that's what we have to get to.
And last few questions for you. I want to ask you about homelessness in California. It's a big issue in Bakersfield, Kern County.
It is.
Governor Newsom actually thinks that Mayor Go is doing a good job based on the money that she allocates, or that's allocated to her, and the way that she uses the funds. And still, even though it gets supposedly a good review, there's still problems in the streets of Bakersfield. I imagine that there can be a bit of an issue in your county as well. We see it across the state. How do you go about solving it? How do you go about enforcing, I guess, what's in Prop 36, and what are some other solutions?
So the difference between me and Governor Newsom and some of the very liberal politicians that we've elected is I don't believe money fixes anything. Money is not the answer to anything. It's action. You have to have action. You have to have resources to direct people. And we keep calling this a homeless crisis. It's not a homeless crisis. We have to stop. It is a mental illness. Drug and alcohol-induced psychosis is causing 95% of the issues that we see that we call them homeless. They all had homes. They were kicked out of their homes because of their drug and alcohol abuse, their theft, all of those things that kicked them out of their homes, that forced them into the street, and now they're drug-induced psychosis where they think they're normal. And it's sad that we as a society are watching these people rot in their skin, and we just keep saying we're going to throw more money at it. We're gonna build more tiny homes that they don't want to be in. We're going to have more government bureaucracy and red tape that money never makes it to the treatment. We have to be honest. It is drug-induced and alcohol-induced psychosis, and we absolutely must address it like that. We can throw them in jail for being intoxicated, and while they're in jail, we can keep them there waiting on court, and now all of a sudden they're sober. And then when they're sober, you can actually ask them, hey, this is a bad life that you're living here, and it would be much easier if we could get you into this treatment program. So no more building homes, no more this lie about affordable housing and the lack of housing that we need for all the homeless people. They need counseling and they need rehab centers. And we have completely shunned the mental health industry, the hospitals that we have for mental care, and the NGOs that we have that we're funneling all this taxpayer money in that they say they're helping homeless. In my world, the ones that we see every day, they're not. That money is not helping what we see on the street. And I love Bakersfield. I love the history of Bakersfield. My wife and I stayed here last night, and we drove around, getting toward nighttime. We just drove around. We were looking for a coffee shop to go this morning. And as I'm driving around, I'm looking at all of the homeless on the streets. I'm looking at them just walk across the middle of the street, people slamming on their brakes so they don't hit them. Then they're yelling at cars. They're talking to themselves. These are not homeless people. These are drug-induced psychosis individuals that have a serious mental illness problem now because of their drug abuse. And we have to stop this craziness of calling it what it's not. The state has legalized drugs. They've prevented law enforcement from drug enforcement, from enforcing felonies, what used to be felonies with drugs. They're all citation misdemeanors that there's no consequence. We can see a direct relationship with Prop 47 that did all of this and the skyrocket of theft and homelessness. We just have to start being honest, and we have to start making the tough decisions, doing away with special interest groups in Sacramento, lobbyists in Sacramento, and we actually have to pay attention to local leaders and local law enforcement because they know what's happening in their community and they know what these people need. The state has to stay out of it. The governor has been a failure in the homeless industry, and that's what it is. It is an industry. It's an industrial complex that just $25 billion, and they have no idea where it is. They have no idea where it went because it's not helping our homeless. Our homeless have doubled and tripled in some locations, but we're $25 billion in, and they have no idea where that money went. So it's not for him to just come out and say, I think you're spending your money well, and maybe you just need more money. That's not it. We have to get past all of this stuff about convincing people because of our emotions. When you use your emotional part of your brain, you're not using common sense and logic. So emotion is completely different than common sense and logic and reason. So if we convince everybody that you have to be emotional and you have to be embarrassed, or you have to be ashamed that you're not helping them and you're not giving more of your money for all these people, we're not thinking logically and saying, wait a minute, I've given you half of my money already and you've wasted it. So we try and elicit these emotional response, or our government does, to get us to go along with them. And we've gotten to the point now where we're done. Now we're angry. And that's the emotion we're using. We're not using the empathetic and the sympathetic emotion anymore that we all want to be. Now we're angry because you've taken advantage of us.
Well, as we're doing our interview, as people are familiar with the studio, we have several different monitors in the room. We have Attorney General Rob Bonta, looks like, on some sort of a Zoom call right next to us. How do you work with people that may not be Republican in some sort of executive roles like that if you are elected governor?
For our Attorney General, you don't. He is an absolute complete failure for law enforcement. He is an embarrassment to everyone that holds this badge and this profession dear. He is an absolute embarrassment. He's not a law enforcement professional. He is an appointed person into that position that uses the power of incumbency to win another election, and the fact that we are predominantly Democrat and Democrats just vote for Democrat. But for public safety, he is a dismal failure. And I will not work with him. I will work around him because, and the majority of Sacramento politicians are what I consider just regular Democrats. They actually do care about their constituents, but they are controlled by 20% of the leadership. All of the leadership in Sacramento is far progressive left that is socialist, communist, Marxist in beliefs, and they're not even secret about it anymore. And that's what Bonta is. Bonta does not want freedom. Bonta wants complete government control, and it's his agenda. It's not Constitution. It's not what's real. It's not what people want. It's that agenda driven. And I won't work with those people. It's almost like they just have to be pushed aside, and then the majority of Democrats that are there, and then the Republicans that are there, now we all come together to make things better. That's what you have to concentrate on. And I think the unique ability for me is, number one, honesty is everything to me. Integrity and honesty is everything. And I'm not afraid of the media. I'm not afraid to give you a 3-hour interview. I'm not afraid to go out on the steps of the Capitol and tell everyone where our failures are. I'm not afraid to call out a legislator and say, this person has lost their mind and they're not going along with this California agenda to make things better. It's a personal agenda for them or a special interest agenda that is harming us. And that's what they're afraid of. I've noticed in the last 2 years that I have Democrat legislators in the Assembly and in the Senate that are calling me at work, that are calling my representative in our legislative unit and getting my opinion on their bills. They want to know if I'm going to oppose their bill. They want to know if I will offer an amendment to their bill or different wording so they can make sure that it gets passed. And what that tells me is there still is common sense and sanity there. It's being influenced by the far left that's ruining our state. And so when I get there, it will be to have the ability to articulate facts and solutions, and then even listen to everybody else's way of fixing things. I do not believe one-party rule is a disaster. California is absolutely shows that one-party rule will completely destroy a country or a state. And we have to get back to the point where Republicans and Democrats can disagree on fringe things, but we certainly have to agree on the mass middle that benefits everyone. That's how government was designed, and we unfortunately have left that.
I just thought it was so fortuitous. He pops up on the screen and he's talked about as this potential candidate to run for governor as well, but also seems to signal too, as several Democrats in this race seem to signal too, that if Kamala Harris were to jump in this race, they would step aside. What does that say about the quality of candidates on the other side of the aisle and what they would do in case this one other person decides to run?
Yeah, politically that says a lot about the Democrat Party. So I will tell you right now, there are there are probably better candidates than Kamala Harris. She is probably one of the worst candidates. But the belief in the Democrat Party is that she held a state office here twice, and she won the popular vote in the last presidential election. And so they just believe that she would have an easy victory. So the difference between Republicans and Democrats is all of those Democrats, Bonte included, have said that if Kamala Harris gets in the race, they're all getting out. Because the Democrat Party has the ability to say, we're going to get behind one candidate and we're going to make sure that candidate wins. The Republican Party, on the other hand, is completely run by egos and special interests, and I'm better than you, or I'm more conservative than you, and my business is better than yours, or I'm more popular than you, and so everybody wants to be governor. So we're going to have 10, 20, 30 people running for governor on the Republican side, and all of the Democrats are getting out because it's about strategy. And they're just going to make sure that they have the votes to elect one person. It may not be the best person. She's certainly not the best person, but that's who it's going to be because that's who they're picking. And they will rally behind her to make sure that she wins to further their agenda. So that's really some of my goal. Not only does the majority of the state, all of the Democrats that are currently running are running their campaigns raising money against me. And they've been doing it for a year. The Democrats that have been in this race have been raising money for a year fighting me. And I announced 2 months ago. So this is ongoing. They know that because of my status, because of my history, because of a law enforcement sheriff moving into a bigger race, they know that I'm the person to beat. And so they're raising money against me. On the opposite side, the Republicans who have entered this race or considering getting in this race, they know I'm the one to beat too. So now they're paying for opposition to oppose me, to somehow make me less desirable, because when it comes down to resumes about my $1 billion budget, my 4,500 government employees, staying in budget, managing budget, slashing budgets, taxpayer money, efficient type of government that I represent, there is no one that has that resume. There is no one that has a 32-year career of nothing but irrefutable integrity, honesty, and character. They don't have that. So the Republicans have to attack me while they all get in to say, oh, look, he's horrible, vote for me over here. I'm a much better guy. And the reality is that's not going to be it. I have the best chance of winning this election, and we hope that the rest of them see that we do need to make a difference in California. It has to be an agenda change, and all of California has to rally behind the person that represents that change. It's not going to be anyone on the Democrat ticket, and it's not going to be any of the other Republicans. If I felt that someone else had a better chance of winning than I did, I would support them. But the reality is no one in the political world believes that anyone has a chance. If they believe someone has a chance of winning in a Democrat state, they believe it's going to be me on the public safety side with my background in public safety.
You're doing a great job preempting all my questions about Republican candidates and whatnot. So we did have Steve Hilton last week, and it seems like the area he's running on, the lane that he's running on as far as trying to appeal to voters is affordability in California. He talks about being David Cameron's policy guru. Of course, he wants to do this thing with your state income tax. I think the first $100,000 you make, no state income tax, things like that to appeal. It seems like you're more focused on public safety, but as you say, it ties into everything. From your estimation, and from your assessment, what separates the two of you, and why are you the better candidate?
Ability. He's a lifelong career politician that truly has nothing. He may be a great guy, and I used to like watching him on TV, but I don't want a news commentator to be our governor. You've proven yourself nothing to be on TV and read a prompter that you're going to be able to lead California in a direction change. He's been a behind-the-scenes politician his entire career. That's all he has to offer. We have seen in California, we're tired of politicians. We are tired of people that are here for their own agenda, that are here for their own mission, for their own name recognition, or whatever the case may be. So he may be a great person. He has absolutely no chance to win, and the only thing he's going to say is what we all know anyway. And the interesting thing about his tax plan is I've already come out and said that I know I'm going to be elected governor, and I'm going to be elected governor twice. And I've already said that by the end of my second term, there will not be a state sales tax. A state income tax. California will not income tax their residents, just like 10 other fantastic states in the country don't tax their residents. California will not do it. And that's a bold statement because we're going to make a bold effort to eliminate the size of government, to eliminate the government waste, so we stop stealing money from our residents. So all Steve did is come in and look at what my policy was. I've been running for a year. I officially announced 3 months ago, and Steve made sure he tacked on the same things. You and I can sit here and run a list of 100 things off that are wrong with California. It's overregulation, it's overtaxation, it's big government, it's all of these things. It's the cost of fuel, the cost of living, the cost of homes. All of those things have to be reduced. If anyone says, I'm running for governor and I'm not going to reduce regulation, I'm not going to reduce taxes, I'm going to make the government bigger, I'm not going to save all of us that are suffering from the cost of living, are you going to vote for that? So for him, for a newscaster reading a teleprompter in his stump speeches of what he was told to say, that's all we have from Steve. And Steve, honestly, I think Steve realizes that, and I hope he gets out soon enough to actually help me win and help the more sane Californians pick a governor that's actually truly going to represent them instead of the right wing or the left wing or any particular entity other than just Californians. We all know regulation has to go. We all know the cost of gas has to go down. The regulations that make us pay $2 more a gallon than everyone else, they have to go. Those are all going on day one. Those will all be changed. Our school system has to be completely revamped. Half of the money that we give to the school system goes above the principal level. That has to change. We have to start making legitimate changes to make Californians' lives better. Californians, you and I, are working for the government. That is what we have come to in California, and it is supposed to be the exact flipped opposite. Government is supposed to be working to make our lives easier and less controlled. And when that happens, the ingenuity of Americans, of humans, of Californians will make everything better. They will expand their businesses. They will hire more people. They will invent more products. They will bring more into the state. More businesses will flock here to increase the size of our economy. This is not rocket science. This is just about caring about other people more than yourself. And then the difference is the resume. The resume of are you just a big talker and you say nice things? I mean, one of the things, the major difference between Steve and I is Steve is running around telling everybody that he was the first one to talk on TV about COVID and about lockdowns and how bad they were. It's like, that's all great, but we don't know how you act under pressure. We don't know how you're going to act with special interests pulling at you. We don't know how you're going to act when you are put on the spot and actually have to make a decision. We know how you read a teleprompter. But then you can look at me and say, man, that dude was the first in the country to stand up and say, we aren't doing any of that in our county. You're not locking down your business. You're not closing your churches. We aren't going to arrest you for coming out of your house or not wearing a mask. That's what I did, first in the country. So it's actions. It's did I truly represent my constituents or a special interest or an agenda? And you can say what you wanted back at the time. History has proven I was right. I was on the right side of history, and everyone else was not. So when you make those decisions based on the Constitution and you actually have the courage and the fortitude and the ability to rationally think it out and not go off of special interests, not react or act off emotions, I have a proven history of doing the right things for my constituents. And we're just going to take it to the bigger stage in the state rather than one of our largest counties.
Well, the teleprompter behind you says, thank you very much, Sheriff Chad Bianco, for coming in. So I appreciate your time. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it.